If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to talkmurder.com/join and becoming a Talko Supremo. 24 years ago, a picturesque town in Australia was rocked when three beautiful young women were snatched up and dumped in the bush. Millions of dollars were spent, thousands of leads chased, hundreds of DNA samples were tested, and right now, the trial for one man is center stage in the most exhaustive investigation in recent history. But is this man who stands accused really the deviant monster that police claim? Is this unassuming character really Australia's most famous unsolved serial killer? After 24 years, have detectives finally captured the Claremont killer?
Shout out to Mari in Brazil for letting us know that we were her most listened to podcast of 2019.
All right.
Pretty awesome. And congratulations on your baby taco.
Aww.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, she's due in March. So
a human, though, not a
correct.
Not a taco.
Not what happens after you go to Chipotle.
Big shout out to Brittany. She emailed me.
Yes.
And I'm going to do a story for her that I've been waiting for someone to request. So thank you so much. No, not tonight.
Bum, bum, bum. Is this a request?
This is not a request, but I did put the hint on Facebook and I told people to guess WWG WWK, which means
where we going, who we killing.
Mm-hmm. So I see Mari's post right here. E Falando M Conversa, Sus podcast Mais Ovadoras in 2019.
I don't speak Portuguese, but I'm sure you butchered that just fine.
All right. Nobody guessed tonight for the hint, but someone did tell us to do sake bombs. Shout out to Lauren.
Oh, we didn't have any sake. Had we known, we would have gone to the store. Instead, we are drinking the kimono cocktail, which is mostly gin. So it's gin, Campari. Ugh, Campari is disgusting. Cointreau, lemon juice.
Cointreau?
And Oregot.
It's the name of a car, isn't it? Cointreau.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nitro?
The Ford Cointreau.
Is that really a car name?
Yeah, but it's not spelled the same way.
All right, so.
Well, should we guess first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nicole, I said tonight the hint is kimono.
Well, I still think we're going to Japan.
Where are we going? Who are we killing?
I still think we're going to Japan. And I think...
Why would you not think we're going to Japan?
I don't know, because you could try to trick us quite often on this podcast. So I think we're going to Japan, and I think a geisha gets killed.
Surprise shots. Surprise shots. We don't know what they are because they're a surprise. So we're continuing with our shots of Christmas.
Yay! It's my new favorite segment.
It really is my new favorite segment.
God.
So, who's going first?
John.
On the fourth shot of Christmas, John picked from the tree.
Oh, shit. On my titties. What is this?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It smells fucking gross.
Well,
Take a shot.
You wanted the green one.
Holy shit. Trade with me. I don't want to take this.
No. Do it.
It smells really bad.
Don't. Do it.
Sucks to be you.
Oh, wow. That's like tequila or something. That hurts. That legitimately hurts.
What flavor profile would you say?
It burns.
The Dolce Vita pineapple jalapeno tequila.
Yeah, it's tequila.
Ooh.
Yeah, now it tastes the pineapples too. Thanks a lot. I think it's gross.
On the fifth shot of Christmas, Nicole picked from the tree.
Uh-oh.
Who's pouring these damn shots?
Me. So of course the tequila.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't have much of a flavor.
Dolce Vita lime. Dolce Vita pineapple jalapeno.
Jen,
Sweet tea.
I don't like this game. I don't. Okay, that was really bad. Like really
Watermelon, vodka, and Jameson's Cosmic IPA whiskey. All right, my turn. On the sixth shot of Christmas, I took from the tree Crown Royal apple,
Aw, man.
Bad. Wow.
Dolce Vita lime, Dolce Vita pineapple jalapeno, sweet tea moonshine, watermelon vodka, and Jameson's Cask Whiskey IPA.
All righty, let's get started with tonight's case.
Okay.
Go to talkmurder.com to see all these pictures. Actually, I went up to and put them all in GIFs.
Giffies.
GIFs.
I don't know what they really are supposed to be called, but I like
Gifs.
real Jif.
Yeah.
That's the peanut butter.
Yeah.
Choosy moms choose Jif.
Yes.
I think it's GIF.
I prefer the term GIF, but I'm pretty sure it's actually GIF.
Okay, tonight we are going international, and we're going to not Japan. We're going to a current case that's going on right now that's super interesting. And I literally cannot take my eyes away from the trial that's going on right now. It's a serial killer murder trial in Australia. My favorite place. My favorite place to do murders in Australia. So, Nicole, we're going to Perth, Australia. So where is that at in Australia? East, west, north, or south? Or right in the middle?
Perth, I believe, is on the west coast.
Third place geography B. I think we should give you the first place. That was the correct answer.
Thank you.
Yes. I put on Facebook that you wouldn't know the hint unless you're a real true crime addict that keeps up with daily news. This is a case that's going on right now.
I bet you Savannah got it.
Oh, well, I don't think she saw it yet, but I guarantee you she...
Bet you Jazz got it.
Yeah. Jazz. Anyone that's in Australia knows this because they know this case because it's actually the longest and most expensive investigation in Australia history.
Oh, really?
It had the most manpower of any other case, including some of the big cases out there. And no one has ever been convicted and sentenced for this case, but there is someone in prison there is someone in trial right now for the murder of 3 women. So the killer killed 3 people, and he's going to trial right now. And I'm telling you, as you could literally put on your notification bell and get updates on this case. Today is Sunday, December 8th. This is the information that's out right now. This is pretty much all you're going to find on it, but it will progress and more information will come out. But as of December 8th, Sunday, this is what I'm giving it to you right now.
Cool.
All right.
I love active cases.
Yeah, this case is super interesting. You know, just to like break you guys into the case, think Colonel Russell Williams.
Oh,
and
that is one of my all-time favorite cases. Holy shit.
And a little bit of Jerry Brudos mixed with some Golden State Killer. That's pretty much this case.
Brudos.
He was a shoe fetish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, this guy is really fucking weird. Okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I take it he is trying women's clothing on. So he's breaking into their houses, raping them, trying on their clothes?
All righty, guys. Tonight we are going to Claremont. We are talking about the Claremont serial killer. It's right here. So Nicole was right as far as Western Australia. Around this area, it's kind of like a downtown area. Not wealthy, but kind of higher class people that visit this area. There's bars, cafes. So kind of think of like downtown Charleston, you know, and some of the nice shops and restaurants. And quote from one reporter, youngsters in Doc Martens and black garb mingle in cafe and bars. Now this is during
a goth bar?
Huh? Goth?
Yeah, like Doc Martens and dark black clothing.
Punk?
No, not a punk bar. What?
What? That's
no, it's not a punk bar. It's
Okay.
It's like a
Hipster?
hipster. Yeah. All right. So this is during the day they mingle there, but at night, the 20s and 30s, they all go to the Federation style Continental Hotel known as the Conti, and they also go to a club that's very popular called Club Bay. Now, in fact, 2 of the women were abducted after leaving Club Bay,
Okay.
and the other one from the Continental, which we'll get to. One local shop owner around the Claremont area says, quote, yuppie territory full of silly young things looking for a good time. For the Club Bay, a neighborhood cocktail bar for those who look over 25. So they don't really card as far as
For those
21.
who look over
Yeah.
25. Well, is the drinking age 21 in Australia?
Yeah, I think it's 21. I don't know if it was 21 at the time of this. We're going in 1996. All right.
I'm about to turn 29.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to be in my last year of my 20s.
Celebrate it.
Time to trade you in for a new model. A younger. I'm just kidding. I like them old. Shit.
I am 5 years younger than you.
Okay, this is Sarah Spires. Go to talkmore.com, see the pictures. This is her. Can you describe this person for us?
Girl next door, wholesome, blonde.
Blue
Blonde.
eyes.
Very good. Girl next door, wholesome and blonde. Blonde being one of the most important things there. Now, she was a secretary. She goes missing January 27th, 1996.
How old was she?
She was 18.
I was going to say, she didn't look very old.
Yeah, she was 18 at the time. She actually was in the Bayview Hotel, or excuse me, she was in the Bayview Club. And like I said, I guess at that time, she looked over 25. Friends of hers called her, quote, happy and chatty. Now, she visited a friend, Annabelle Ham, on the day of her missing. Now, her body has never been found. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 women tonight and a few rape victims. But out of the 3 that were murdered, only 2 were found. Sarah Spires, the first one that we're going to, she has never been found to this day. She goes to her friend Annabelle Ham's house in Riverside Mosman Park. She goes there around noon. She leaves Club Bayview, the center of Claremont, where I just showed you, around 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, she's walking by herself because she's done for the night. She's calling it quits. Now, she's out with a bunch of friends. And it's crazy because if you go watch the videos, there was this one random YouTube commenter on one of these videos I've watched about this case that said, it was like the top voted comment. It said, ladies, please do not walk alone. Always be in 2s or 3s if you can. And it was just some person that said that. And it was like, got liked like hundreds of times.
It's sad but true.
It is sad but true, but I want to say, and I didn't really build up the area, but this part of town, Claremont, is crime-free. Okay? I mean,
It'd be like us walking home from Mount Pleasant. If we wanted to walk to the Taco Bell, it would be
or the IHOP.
relatively.
Yeah, it's like us walking from IHOP.
Yeah.
Well, that's not necessarily safe when you consider the traffic.
Yeah, but I mean,
but like
crime-wise.
So the last time she was seen was by her friends. She leaves Bayview and she's like, you know what? I'm just done for the night. I'm just going to go back to my friend Annabelle's house and I'm just going to get a taxi. Now she walks a few blocks because the nearest phone booth is a few blocks away. And it's after midnight. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. Now she gets to the phone booth and calls Swan Taxis. She actually lives with her sister in an apartment, but she lives pretty far away. So she requested for the taxi to take her to Mosman Park, where she came from earlier today, to stay at Annabelle's house for the night. Okay, instead of going back to South Perth where she lived. She was sighted walking alone near the corner of Sterling Road. 3 eyewitnesses, okay, actually remembered seeing her because they pull up and the streets are literally empty. Empty streets, but there's no crime. So it's like just a nice night out. By the stoplight, there's the phone booth. This car pulls up with 3 men inside, and they remember seeing her standing there. She had just called for the taxi, and as they drove off, because the light turned green, they were actually asking each other, because they went back to the police and said this, maybe we should go back and just wait with her until her taxi comes or something. But they didn't, if they could go back in time. But when they were driving away, they looked back in the rearview mirror and a car did pull up. It was like a like a Corolla-looking car, like a light grayish Corolla. Kind of looked like a taxi from their perspective, at least.
Okay.
And it did stop right with her. It stopped right beside her. She calls the taxi at 2:06 a.m. And at 2:14 a.m., so 8 minutes later, she's not there. The taxi shows up and can't find her anywhere.
Oh, this is similar to the story, the Uber story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep that in mind, because that's that's a good point, Jen.
She was at the OBH Friday night, and I went there. I called in to see her and
Okay, this is Amanda Spires. This is her sister.
to tell them that I'd drop them at club if they wanted to go. And then I went to a friend's, then I came back and got them, and she was happy, gave me a hug, kiss, goodbye, thanks for dropping us off. That's the last time I saw her.
This is from ABC News Australia, and this was actually posted last Friday.
Judith Barat, who lived in Fairlight Street in Mossman Park in 1996, recalled hearing, quote, desperate, blood-curdling, terrible, terrible screams in the early hours of January 27th that were, quote, very high-pitched. After that, there was, quote, absolute silence.
That's not good. Now,
No.
there was a few people that heard those screams. Another witness, Jessie Marie Munro, who lived in a nearby apartment, also heard the same screams.
The three Mossman Park residents all testified the screams appeared to have come from the direction of a phone box on Monument Street, outside the local shopping center. Mr. Stewart and Miss Monroe looked out of their apartment window and said they saw a vehicle parked next to the phone box with its tall lights on, then heard car doors slamming. Mr. Stewart said the vehicle was light-colored station wagon, probably a Toyota Corona.
I became most concerned on Monday morning when I rang. She starts work at 8 and I rang at 8:15 just to catch up with her because I hadn't seen her all weekend. And as soon as I found out she wasn't there, I rang all of her friends and no one had seen her since Friday night. And then I came home here because I had stayed at a friend's, came home here and we rang the police from here at about 9:15.
Okay, that was her sister again.
Sad.
Yeah,
She's very collected.
Yes.
Don Spire, the father, said that his daughter was, quote, very affectionate and would always light people up, and she was always there for us. All right, that's number one. Might as well move on. Jane Rimmer, second victim. She's actually a child care worker. Now, all these women I'm talking about, they come from middle-class homes, and the reason I'm saying that is because they're not runaways, you know? I mean, not
Fair.
that matters, but,
Yeah.
you know, they have friends, they have careers. You know, Jane Rimmer, the 23-year-old I'm talking about now, she was a child care worker. That's all she wanted to do when she was growing up is help children. She's not just going to run away. Like, these women were taken at the center here, the Claremont Center. Her friend Linda Donovan that was with her on the night says, quote, I thought she was gorgeous and her personality matched her face. She was just a really good person. Very smiley, nice, and friendly. She comes from a middle-class home. This is from The Age, Tuesday, August 6, 1996, if you want to read this, Nicole.
Miss Rimmer disappeared from the upmarket Perth suburb of Claremont on 9th of June after visiting a hotel. On the 27th of January, a teenager, Sarah Spears, vanished after leaving a nearby nightclub.
There's security footage of her waiting outside the Continental at 12:04 a.m., and I'm putting that on talkmurder.com for you guys. She wanted to leave because it was a long line at the club. Bayview. Very good, yeah. So just like the other one, she was going to go to Club Bayview. Her body was actually found 55 days later, Saturday, 3rd August, 1996. She was naked. She was in the bushland near Woolcote Road by a family. Actually, it was a mother and her daughter. They were out picking wildflowers. I mean, just think about it. Your daughter stumbles upon a decomposed body.
Yeah.
So the two bodies they found, Jane Rimmer and the one I'm about to talk about, they were both found the same way, face down, almost or completely naked and covered with the foliage. I mean, basically he would rip off the little brushes, you know, the branches of the trees and kind of like hastily cover them up, knowing that someone was most likely going to find them.
Yeah, it's not like he was digging.
Yeah. Now to get on to the last victim before we get into the killer and everything. Kiera Glennon, she was 27. She was a lawyer. Okay. Now this was 9 months later. This was in 1997. She was the third woman to vanish from the area within a 15-month time period. She was a lawyer in Perth. Her father was a very respected businessman in the area. She was also at the Continental. Now, keep in mind, there was a scare at the time because Sarah Spires goes missing first. Yeah, it's alarming, but there was no body, right? Mm-hmm. But everyone knew she went missing from this place. But, maybe she could have just left. Who knows?
Right, yeah.
But now you had Jane Rimmer. She was in this area, the Claremont area. She goes missing from this bar scene, and her body shows up. There's a huge scare now. So after this one, Sierra Glennon, that's when the police knew for certain there was a serial killer working in the area. Okay. There was 3 eyewitnesses that observed her walking along Sterling Highway at 11:15 p.m. There was a light-colored vehicle, most likely the same one that, the Toyota Corona, that pulled up and was talking to her.
Must be some trusting-looking guy.
I don't know, because remember Edmund Kemper would do the same thing.
Yeah, but he looked safe. He didn't look necessarily like
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole, read this. This is from the Sydney Morning Herald, June 14th, 1997.
Lights up. The young woman is standing outside a computer store before walking along the highway away from the brightly lit entertainment strip. She has on a black skirt and a white top, her long blonde tresses falling over her shoulders. She is a little weary and keen to get home. Fade to black.
Ooh.
I found a really great newspaper write-up about this. It kind of reenacted the case in this sort of narrative.
Like it's a play.
Yeah, I guess it's like a play.
Scene.
This is from The Age, Friday, April 4th, 1997.
The body found yesterday was among trees and limestone in Sandhill Scrub near Yanchep National Park, about 40 kilometers north of Perth. It was discovered about 5 meters from the bitumen road by a young man walking. Police sealed off the isolated area called Eglinton, about 2 kilometers from the beach.
Okay, so this was 19 days after she goes missing. April 3rd, 1997. She's found in the bush like the last one, okay, Jane Rimmer. Mm-hmm. So you got 2 bodies found. Just like Jane Rimmer, she's nearly naked, obviously she was sexually assaulted, right? Raped. She was found by a worker near a track in Scrub. I don't know, that's the Australian thing, Scrub. I guess it's like a little street or something, of Piccadilly Road in Eglinton. A reporter from the Sydney Morning Herald said, quote, her partly clad body was found 50 kilometers north of Perth in bushes a few meters from an isolated coastal track. Okay, now this is the paper right here that came out right after that. The headline I'm showing you guys now, it says, body finds leads. Okay, so now they got some leads. West Australia police to hunt serial killer. The hunt is officially on now. They know for a fact they have a serial killer. A reward of $250,000 is posted. Yeah.
That's a nice piece of pocket change.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, since 1996, this has been the longest, most expensive, and the biggest crime that has ever taken place. They've put more resources into this than any other crime. And in fact, every day the trial is going on and there's new developments. Okay. I try to get all the information I can because honestly, I'm going to tell you guys in a little bit, I'm not sure if they can pin these murders on this guy. Okay. That's why I'm so invested in this case. I'm not sure.
You don't think they have the right guy or that there's not enough evidence to convict?
I think they got the right guy, but I don't think they can pin this on him.
Are there so I know that we're talking about 3 victims here. Are there other suspected victims that's not being
Yeah, that's a great question.
Now?
There are other victims. 2 actually showed up in the trial to testify as rape victims. This is before.
So not killed.
Yeah, so I want to just to talk a little bit about the trial and get off track for a second. The prosecution is building a escalation theory with this guy. He started off as a teenager, panty raiding, kind of like Colonel Williams.
Russell Williams, yeah.
And then he leads to rape and violence and then finally to murder. Okay, so this is throughout his whole life. This guy that is arrested right now is 50 years old. He started when he was 19. So they're building an escalation theory of this guy. Now, at her funeral, Sierra Glennon's funeral, 1,500 people attended. And now this is a quote from the newspaper The Age. Quote, friends, police, and politicians shed tears as the Glennon family placed the 27-year-old lawyer's ballet shoes and graduation photo on their coffin to symbolize her love of life. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, she was very prominent in society. Not that the other girls weren't, but she was a very successful lawyer and her dad was a very successful businessman. So she's going to get a lot of...
Sierra's murder has not only ended a life of hope, it has also undermined the sense of decency and security in the community, Mr. Glennon said. There are no explanations in human terms for this. There are no explanations for the family's question, why Sierra? He said. Victory and justice will and must emerge. God came into our garden and picked the most beautiful rose, Mr. Glennon said yesterday. When my heart and soul can bear no more anguish, I think of you in your bridesmaid's dress never to be worn. We now know you are at Denise's wedding. The congregation wept as Mr. Glennon told of his daughter's vitality and love of life, family, and friends. We, your friends, remember you for your vitality and humanity, your love of life, respect of others, and your infectious enthusiasm, Mr. Glennon said. We are lucky to be able to say you were our friend.
All right, let me talk about the MO of the bodies found. I'm not going to talk about the rape victims, how the killing MO, but the bodies, both Jane and Sierra were face down in the bush, covered with brush. Both had defensive wounds, so they both fought back. Now, what does it mean when they have defensive wounds? Think about them scratching, which means...
They've got stuff under their fingernails.
There you go, fingernail DNA. All right. Jane Rimmer actually had arm injuries, saying that she was actually drugged into the bush. He had her by the hair and was dragging her into the bush to rape and kill her.
Yikes.
There were broken branches and foliage around Sierra Glennon's body. The branches that were broken and put on her body were actually broken off the nearby trees, and they surmised that since the branches were actually broke off about 6 feet off the ground, because if you think about it, it's 6 feet up, you just grab it and break it off, that the man that did this must be at least 6 feet tall. But as far as evidence, yeah, they got DNA, but if the guy isn't in the database, which he was not, what's that going to do?
Nada.
Not a thing.
Nada for a while, anyway. I guess they keep checking it.
I mean, they could confirm it whether or not it was the same profile for both.
Yeah,
that's true. And in fact, that's a good point. They did confirm it with the same profile as the rape victim I'm going to talk about. One thing I didn't mention about the second body, Jane Rimmer, is there was a knife found by the body.
Ooh.
Okay, now this is very important. It was a Telstra standard issue knife. Now, Telstra, in America, Telstra equals AT&T, or Telstra equals Verizon, right? It's like a telecommunications company in Australia, right?
Okay.
So it's like the AT&T that we have, but they have Telstra. So where her body was found and where the knife was found, there has been no work that Telstra has done. They haven't installed phone lines out there. They haven't done anything out there that would let that knife end up by the body way out in the bush. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's going to be a big factor. Going off that knife, it's a Telstra employee. So the employee probably fallen.
Whoa.
What?
I don't. How did you make that connection? It's got to be a Telstra employee.
Yeah. All right. So Telstra's like Verizon or AT&T. They come in and install phone lines, and they do it for big companies and stuff like that, right? So Jane Rimmer's body was way out in the bush, like way, way out there.
So you're saying that the only way that somebody would have known?
No. They found that knife, the Telstra standard issue knife, out by her body.
Why? Who issues out a knife?
Well, the Verizon guys do. Like that guy that came from AT&T, he had a AT&T issued. I mean, not a knife like a fucking I'm gonna kill you knife, but like a utility knife, like a box cutter or something.
Oh, okay.
Not like a fucking
All right.
machete, you know what I'm saying? Well,
Okay,
maybe in
well,
Australia they may be.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean there's
No, like a little knife, like a
letter
box cutter.
opener?
a box cutter, right? That says Telstra on it.
Okay.
Okay. Should I Google image the knife so you get a better
No,
idea?
I'm okay
No.
now.
Okay. But anyway, they actually named a suspect. Lance Williams was his name. Now, this guy is not the guy that's in prison right now in trial. This guy actually died in 2018 of cancer.
Oh.
And that may have been perpetuated by the 2 years that
stress.
police surveyed him and the stress, because this is the most notorious murder in Australia, unsolved murder. Now you pin one guy, this Lance Williams. Okay, they arrest him.
How come they think it's him?
Okay, here's how they think it's him. That's a good question. After the three girls went missing from that area, Claremont, and the 2 bodies showed up, they actually tracked him. They had surveillance all around the area. They tracked him for several weeks, secretly watching and following women around the area in his car. Okay. He was arrested April 5th, 1998. He is a 41-year-old public servant. No, that was how old he was then. He's dead now. He died of cancer. He actually failed the lie detector test. Okay. But it was his idea to take it. So he didn't do it. Everyone kind of knew that he didn't do it. He was just a weird, creepy dude following women around. In fact, his excuse...
There are those out there, too.
His excuse was, and I kind of believe it, honestly, it was these women went missing. They were murdered. So I'm just cruising around the neighborhood and making sure it doesn't happen again, like kind of stalking women. But you know what I'm saying? If you want to hear more about it, there's a really good podcast, and we never plug podcasts, but this is from the West Australian, and it's covering the case right now. They have all the interviews from him on it. Just type in Claremont Murders, and it's the West Australian. You can hear him talk about it and his 2 years of literal harassment from the police. Let's not even going to, understatement there. I mean, they were literally harassing him. And his parents actually came out and accused the police and the media of harassing him. I mean, he became the most hated person in Australia.
That's sad. I mean, justified if it was him.
Well,
but that stinks.
And you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember when we did, and I cannot remember who the case was, but there was another person like that. It was one of those unsolved murders, but they had got a guy that was not the killer, and they basically followed him and put him in the media and all this stuff. And it turned out he was innocent, but it destroyed his life. I can't remember what case it was. It was one of the ones we did. But anyway, so it's the same thing with that. But the reason I say that is when you do that, when the police do that, they get tunnel vision, right? Because they arrested him in 1998. This is what tunnel vision is. They have the DNA, like you said, Nicole, and it did not match. But yet they still had this guy as the killer, even though his DNA didn't match. That is tunnel vision. That is tunnel vision.
That's not good.
That is when the police will not look anywhere else because they're so convinced that they have, and because it's the pressure, the public pressure, they need a conviction. They need someone to stand guilty for it.
But you can't get a conviction if there's
exactly, and they
no
never
hard
did.
Evidence.
And they never did, which is why when he died in 2018, I mean, of course, they put him off the list before that, but now this new guy, which I do believe may possibly be the killer, the real killer, but is it the same thing where they're getting tunnel vision again?
Does the DNA match this new guy?
We're going to talk about that in a second. All right, go ahead and read this, Nicole. This is from The Age, Saturday, March 18th, 2000.
Police have led a prime suspect for almost... Police have had a prime suspect for almost 2 years, but despite spending millions on surveillance, DNA, psychological, and lie detector tests, they have not been able to crack one of the nation's most vexing criminal cases. At the center of the investigation is a quietly spoken 42-year-old public servant who, in a bizarre twist, has been publicly identified as the suspect in the grisly case. The suspect, a neat and nervous man named Lance, told The Age this week that he had nothing to do with the murders and at times wished police would put an end to this ordeal by shooting him. But the Margot Task Force, set up in 1996 after the second woman disappeared from the Claremont night spot, refuses to allow Lance out of its sights, saying he is still their primary target.
If you listen to the interviews, he talks openly about it. He asks any question. He lets any media come into his house. He actually proposed the idea initially of doing a lie detector test. And I believe he just failed it because of stress, right? I mean, those things aren't even fucking accurate, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that fail them damn things.
Yeah.
They should just get rid of them damn things. But he failed it probably because, he was stressed. And he is the one that said, I'll take it. Right. But the thing is, the tunnel vision is they had his DNA and it did not match what was under her fingernails, man. That is tunnel vision right there. Yeah. There's nothing else but tunnel vision. And I understand it. It's not like they're being bad police or anything, but it's the public pressure to solve this is just overwhelming. Anyway, a new theory emerged. It was the bogus taxi driver. Jen mentioned earlier the Uber driver, and I cannot remember her name. Stephanie Jacobson, I believe her name was. She was the girl, the college senior, I believe, or sophomore.
USC.
At USC in Columbia, 5 Points area. She actually, if you see on the video, she walks into the cab or into the Uber that wasn't really an Uber without even looking at the car. She's looking at her phone. So this may have been a bogey taxi driver. Hundreds of taxi drivers were lined up by police. Okay, now this is before they had their one dedicated suspect. Hundreds were lined up, fingerprinted, and saliva tested. Now, this is crazy. 5,500 taxi drivers were giving rigorous background checks, multiple background checks. And in fact, 78 of those taxi drivers lost their license because of this investigation, because of the rigorous police checks, right? Not for the murder, but like for other things. Other shit. Now, the taxi service, and I was thinking about this with Uber, the Uber thing too, they actually had a huge hit, in their business because they think when it comes out that this may be a bogus taxi driver, ain't nobody taking a fucking taxi anymore.
Right.
A large portion that the taxi industry in Australia had to do in the last 10 years or so was rebuild their image to get people to trust them again, even though this guy I'm going to talk about, he wasn't a taxi driver. So that's just the little externalities of what could happen in cases like this. Okay, I'm going to show you the killer right now, the one that's in trial. His name is Bradley Robert Edwards. Now, this is him around the time. So he's like 32 around this time. This is the guy
who's in
This is the guy that's
now.
Yeah, this is the guy that's in prison. Tagline says Bradley Edwards, above as a young man, was convicted of assaulting a woman in a terrifying attack in 1990.
Oh, so he has previous offenses.
Oh, he looks way different.
Yeah, this is him now.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, he's
He
like
did not
51.
age well.
Yeah, I know. He also drove a Toyota Camry that looked kind of just like that.
They drive on the left side or the right side of the road?
I don't know. That's a good question, Jen.
They drive on the left side.
What side do we drive on?
The right
The
side.
right.
Oh, okay.
My sister, they drive on the left side in Japan.
I wonder how difficult it is to adjust.
Honestly, I don't think I could ever do it. Like I'm just not that type of person where I feel like I could have my brain really be trained to do that.
Why don't they just drive on the damn right side of the road like we do? It's the same reason their toilets flush the other way. It spins around the other way.
Does
That's
it?
bullshit.
Do they really?
Yeah. You know how ours spins around to the right?
I don't think that's
Theirs spins around to the left. They want to just be different. That's all it is.
Isn't that just because they're in the southern hemisphere?
No, it's just they want to be different.
I don't think that's right.
I don't know if I believe you about the toilets.
That it's true, Jen.
But I thought that's because of the southern hemisphere.
What if we're the ones that are being different?
Right?
Well, it's America.
I mean, in so many ways we are. Fahrenheit, feet and inches versus meters.
Well, meters don't make any damn sense.
I'm just saying, we're like the only country that uses it. So
I measure everything in 4.5 inches. That's a good measurement that I can always, even without a ruler, I can measure something in 4.5 inches at any point in time. Unless it's really cold outside.
You've given yourself more. You used to say 3.
It's growing as I'm getting older. Now, this is from the Superintendent Bleiveld. He says, quote, the only certainty is that the vehicle was light-colored and the make and model can't be confirmed from witness accounts. Talking about the car he was driving. The guy I'm talking about, Bradley Edwards, had a behavior of attacking women during a personal crisis, right? His first wife actually moves with her parents because she's trying to decide if she should stay in the relationship, because around this time they were boarding someone, just kind of how we board Jen here. And she was actually having an affair with this guy.
Sounds like a dog. Like, I'm going to board my dog for the weekend.
It's true. Like Harry Potter, but we don't have stairs, so they just dug a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
She was having an affair with the roommate, the boarder, if you will. And then he found out, causing him to go, through this personal crisis and do the shit. Now, as I said before, he was a Telstra technician, and he was actually an amateur sports official. He would do, what do you call it? Football.
Soccer?
No, football. I don't know what the fuck it is. Rugby. There you go.
Actually, one of the things I remember from my Australian presentation from grad school is that they have their own sport, footy ball, which is a combination between football, rugby, and soccer.
Yeah, that's what it was, footy ball.
Yeah, footy ball.
That sounds fun.
It's an Australian professional sport. Yeah, it looks really interesting.
He was a footy ball. I thought that was a damn joke when I read it. But footy ball, I guess if Jen says it's a real thing.
It is. It's a real thing.
So he was an amateur sports official for footy ball. I was like, man, this is a misprint. It's football.
Well, it's Australian football. Yeah, footy ball.
Yeah, footy ball. My voice just cracked. All right.
They actually bounce it. With their hands.
Technically, really, when you think about it, our name for football doesn't really make sense because you don't really use your feet.
You kick it.
Yeah, but that's like not the
you run with the
That's
ball.
not the primary objective. That's the primary objective in soccer.
I'm not complaining.
This is from the Daily Mail. It says the headline is victim of accused Claremont serial killer tells the court. Now, this is recent. They're in court right now. Tells the court how she escaped his attack by digging her nails into his face after he crept into her bed.
Oh, no.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Niquiz.
I would do more than dig my nails into his face. I don't know. He would definitely get.
I would probably kill him.
We don't know too much about his childhood, but this is when he was like 19 through his 20s, early 20s. If you want to read this, Niquiz.
The former Telstra technician who lived in the area and knew the woman left behind knotted black stockings, a piece of fabric, and silk kimono. There we go. There's the hint, which is central to the case. That was separate from the nightie he wore, which the woman described as long-sleeved and white, similar to what my mother wore. I'm picturing like the old cartoons, the old dressing gowns
like
with the caps.
Like 1800s pajama wear.
Yes.
Like what's his name?
Weird.
Bob Cratchit.
Yeah, or like
There's the actual kimono.
Yeah.
That's the one in evidence right now.
Is it the kimono?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Oh
kimono.
yeah.
What does that say? Danielle, can you get a picture of this?
Yeah. No, let me go and let me tell you about what they found in his house right quick, and then I'll go back to that.
It does look comfy.
Okay.
I think that's the kimono though, not the dressing gown.
You're looking at the kimono right now. Go to talkmore.com to see what he would wear. But this is from the prosecutor Carmel Barbagallo. I cannot pronounce her name, so I'm probably off. Quote, this is what she said in the court like 2 days ago. Quote, the accused, Bradley Edwards, was an introverted and socially awkward man not involved in any intimate or meaningful relationships. He had a tendency to collect and maintain women's underwear and a tendency to wear women's underwear and garments. There's the Colonel Russell Williams. Go back Pretty in Pink with Colonel Russell Williams. It's like episode 9, I believe.
Is that one only available
I think it's
for
8.
Supremos?
Maybe. I think I may have took it off. That's one of my favorite episodes. Now,
With the fashion show.
this
Yes.
is when he was 19 years old. In fact, and this is why, so that's the Colonel Russell Williams. That's how I made that connection. Now for the Golden State Killer, here's the other connection. Because remember, the Golden State Killer was the Visalia ransacker, stuff like that. This guy was actually proven to be in the court the Huntingdale Prowler.
Oh.
And he was, there was 19 separate incidents within 1 kilometer, which is like a mile.
See, this is why we have a problem with us being on a
like-
different system.
It's a little over a mile, I think.
19 incidents within 1 kilometer of his home where he would, this is when he was 19, dress in women's lingerie, and at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, he would go enter people's girls' homes, and steal their underwear while he was wearing a full nightie.
What a
In one
freak.
case, I'm going to tell you, she turns on the light, and this guy is wearing this motherfucking kimono.
God. But he's got lingerie on.
Exactly. So he's breaking in wearing this shit already. It's fucking nuts.
Good
You know?
for you, dude. I don't really know what to say to him right now.
When he was arrested, I'm going to talk about how he got arrested in a minute. So just stay with me. When he was arrested, they found a lot of porn, including one porno that was kind of like a rape fantasy porn called Forced Entry, which the girls were
That sounds
getting
bad. Yeah.
snatched off the street and raped.
Oh.
Similar to
Yeah.
what the MO. Yeah. Now,
Yep.
none of the stuff that they found in his house is going to be used in evidence that just came out.
Why?
The judge will not allow any of the porno and some of the other
Why?
stuff I'm talking about because, and I was listening to the judge say it, there's like a very
Character.
specific line that you have to draw. Like it has to be extremely similar. Like
that is
like
similar.
I know, but it's similar, but it's not very. I don't know. I don't know my legalese with it, but it's supposed to be proportional to the actual crime. You have to dive deeper into that. I could not do it. But they also found stories that he had written, like actual paper pen stories, when they arrested him, went through his home. One of them was called Chloe, and it was a story of basically a young barmaid in Claremont, right? She gets off work, walks down 2 blocks, and was attacked and drug into a panel van with a burlap sack over her head, and then she was raped and tortured and stuff like that. But now, I want to say the rapes that I'm going to talk about in a minute were done in a panel van because he was using the Telstra issued panel van to carry out some of these rapes. Does that make sense? All right. Now let me go back a little bit. I kind of jumped forward there. Okay. There was a few people that actually came forward in the trial and admitted that he actually raped them. Here's one.
Has the statute of limitations passed on rape?
Yeah, it has. It's a very good question. It's a very good question, but this builds character witnesses.
Well, I was just
Or
thinking,
character.
like, can they at least put him away for something?
I don't know.
But no,
I don't
but
know.
if the statute's passed, then
That's
they
a
can't.
really good question, and I do not know. That's a very good question. I actually want to look that up after this. If you guys know, please let me know. Because if they cannot put him away for that, and they cannot directly tie him to these murders, then he's going to walk free. The reason I'm so interested in this case is because I think he may be able to walk free. Because he is not admitting to killing these 2 women, but he is admitting to 2 rapes.
Well, if the statute's passed, then he feels like he's in the clear.
I know, but that's why they're trying to build character. Like the prosecution's trying to do this whole escalation
I get it.
thing. Yeah,
No, I get it.
It's
but-
very touchy. Like this case is very interesting because you really don't know.
But what about the DNA?
I'm gonna get to that in a second.
Okay.
All right, this is a rape victim. Now, this is 30 years ago. He actually was at the hospital called the Hollywood Hospital, okay, in Perth. He was in the Hollywood Hospital west of Perth, and there was a social worker working behind the desk. He comes in his full Telestra attire because he's working. He's installing phone lines for the hospital. He asked to go pee, use the bathroom, and she says, okay. The lady recalls hearing the toilet flush and everything else. Then he comes back to the desk, has like a little dialogue with her, and then attacks her right there in broad daylight and grabs her from behind and starts pulling her towards the bathroom because he was probably going to rape her. Now, he puts a cloth...
Can't contain himself here.
He puts a cloth in her mouth, like over her mouth, and she was desperately trying not to breathe because she thought it was chloroform. And then she figured out it wasn't, and she basically kicked the dude in the nads and got away.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, great for her. Now, this is actually her testimony from the courtroom a few days ago, if you want to read this, Nicole.
I was trying desperately not to breathe because I thought there was something on the cloth, the woman told the court. I honestly thought I was going to die. I breathed in and there was nothing on the cloth, so that was when I started to really struggle. I thought, I've got a chance here. My feet kept slipping on the carpet. There was a lot of strength, but I managed to twist around.
She struggles, but finally frees herself, and the man runs out saying 3 words. Well, 6 words. Quote, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That, to me, shows that this guy has a problem. Like, he is, like he's got
He's sorry he got caught.
Sexual urges that are too powerful for him to kind of control. You know what I'm saying? He's apologizing. The police find cable ties in his pocket, and he claimed that it was a, quote, distressing week. That's when he found out his wife was having an affair with their boarder. This was 6 years before the murder. Now, this is from the first wife talking about the relationship with Bradley Edwards. This is from the Daily Mail.
He told the court that on Sunday mornings, while Edwards was asleep up the hall, the first Mrs. Edwards would sneak into my room while Bradley was sleeping for sex. The first wife told the man Bradley won't wake up, but he thought she was playing a dangerous game.
That's fucked up. I mean, screwing the guy right when your husband's there. Fucking crazy. Now, the relationship goes downhill when she says he bought a computer. Computers were coming out of the laptops. Now,
You mean because of porn?
I don't know. She says that he was on the computer, quote, every night, 7 nights a week. And so am I, but.
Because of porn.
No,
not you. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do when I go to sleep.
No, I'm just always on the podcast and stuff. Quote, he'd come home from work, get changed, go on the computer, come out for a meal, and then go back in again. Now, let me talk about why he got arrested. It was DNA evidence. Now, on December 20th, 2016, while under surveillance, he was taking his stepdaughter to a cinema, like a movie, and he throws a Sprite bottle into the garbage, and the detectives swoop in, just like they do on Forensic Files, swoop in and get it. DNA was taken, and he was arrested 2 days later. The DNA connected him to a rape that we didn't even talk about. It was a snatch and grab rape, and he took the woman to a cemetery. And when it was moonless night, completely black, basically the stuff that he wrote in his journal there, his story, he did. He basically abducted her in the van, his Telstra van, and then took her to this cemetery, raped her, and left her there to die. She actually lived. She testified in court as well. Now, in 2008, the forensic lab in Perth got scrapings of DNA from Sierra Glennon's left thumbnail. The DNA was then unknown, but in January 2009, they ran a match and picked up an unsolved rape at the Carricata Cemetery, the one I just talked about. That's how they linked him together. Okay, now Bradley did admit to the rape, and he has, even though at first he admitted not being non-guilty, but he has since admitted guilt to the rape, but he has not admitted guilt to the 2 murders. They're trying him for 2 murders right now because the one body hasn't been found. So they can get him on 2 murders, but they got to be able to connect them. Yeah, so that's basically it. Like, he's in trial right now. We don't know anything else. Any questions? The DNA, to answer your question from earlier that you said about the DNA, was the DNA matched from him to the victim? Mm-hmm. It does from the Sierra's defensive strikes, but the defense is saying that the DNA was most possibly infused in the lab, kind of like mixed in the lab, or was kept too close together and was contaminated or something else or the other. Now, what they're trying to do right now is confirm fiber testings for the type of car he used to have and stuff like that. They're trying to do everything. I don't know if they have a smoking gun or not. Yeah, it has not came out.
I think the DNA would be, but...
Well, the defense is saying that it was just like Stephen Avery. It was contaminated. Okay, because you got to think about it. Just like, think about Stephen Avery, right? And they looked at the DNA thing and it had that hole in it. Remember that?
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest, most expensive, most exhaustive crimes in Australia. They are desperate to put someone in prison and for the rest of their life. They're desperate to find a guilty party, but they already did, right? With that one guy, they followed him for 2 years. They made him the guilty party. It didn't work out. So now it's the same thing. They could literally lose it because they lost a lot of trust putting that one guy in surveillance for 2 years,
true.
And it didn't pan out. So now anything like if the defense says, oh, the DNA is contaminated or whatever, you already are starting at a low platform of trust with the general public and the jury. I'm not really sure if they're going to be able to convict him or not. I don't know if 12 people on a jury will put this guy guilty or not. I don't know. I mean, we don't know unless they got a real smoking gun. But the DNA, if they come out and say it was contaminated, they're screwed.
Well, you know, Stephen Avery seemed that way too, but he still got convicted. So
yeah, I know.
I don't know.
If you want to stay up to date on this story, there is that podcast from the West Australian. They're the news reporters that has been covering this for 20 years. So I would definitely go there and listen to all those. They're really good, all the interviews and stuff like that. But I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open on this case.
When do they expect the trial to conclude?
I think 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big trial. It's a huge trial because they have...
Can you imagine being selected on that jury? Good
But
Lord.
So the guy, Bradley Edwards, is very nonchalant, kind of like very easygoing about this whole thing, right? You know, it's like he doesn't really care type of thing. So it's either he's checked out or he's maybe playing like he's nonchalant, like he didn't do it type of thing or something. I don't know. So that's about all that is on this case as of this minute right now.
I think they're going to convict him.
I'm
calling it now. What do you guys think?
I don't think they're going to convict him because, like I said, they've lost a lot of trust with the public already with that one guy. And I'm telling you, he's saying he didn't do it. And if the DNA comes back as contaminated, I mean, unless they have a smoking gun, which I don't know if they do or not. But then again, they got the knife.
Yeah.
Which, you know, doesn't directly put him to it unless they got DNA off the knife, which that hasn't came out yet that they have. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that was my story on the Claremont serial killer. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing how this case resolves itself. So, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or whatever podcasting app you use. If you like this story, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're absolutely obsessed with this podcast and want to become our kimono, go to talkmurder.com/join, become a Talk Us Primo, get a badass t-shirt, sticker, swag, a lot of love, shout it out all over the place. Tell me what story you want me to do. I'll research it, dedicate it to you on Talk Murder Me podcast. My name is John, here with Jen and Nicole. And until next time, good day, mate. I literally hear crickets outside. Oh, shit. Where the fuck is this stupid ass shit? All right, I'll read this. So